Hey, just Matt Luxton here. Just going to shoot a little video with Charlotte here today. She's kindly agreed to come in and just do a little bit of a review on her first 6 weeks working with us. So thank you very much, Charlotte, for taking some time with us this afternoon. Appreciate that.
No worries.
Cool. So without being really personal about it, maybe you could just give a little insight into sort of things that you wanted to achieve. And I know obviously you've got some longer term goals as well, but you know, perhaps what you thought, perhaps if you had any fears as well, like starting the program.
Yeah, definitely. I think I just wanted to get into a better routine because I've been in and out of doing various fitness things over the years and not really sustained anything for a long period of time. So I just wanted to get that really good head start into just getting some better routine into my lifestyle in general, to be honest, because it's been a bit all work and no play and a long commute every day as well, which has meant that exercise has kind of fallen by the wayside for the last few months.
Okay. Yeah. So for you then, any particular fears starting the program? Anything that you sort of like thought you were a bit worried about, or not really?
I think kind of thinking about the nutrition side of stuff, was I going to have the time to be doing kind of meal prep and that kind of thing around work, and also just I think a little bit of doubt around my own commitment. Because I know quite often when I leave work at the end of the day, I feel very motivated to do exercise, but by the time I get home, it's kind of just diminished. So it was, am I actually going to stick to this when I get home?
Okay, that's interesting. Okay. So in terms of, is there anything that you sort of like, mentioned a couple of things, I guess, already, but like anything you were like sort of frustrated with that you thought, you know what, this is like, that almost like triggered you into like saying, right now is the time for me to do something?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've put on some weight recently, so my clothes are a bit tighter, which just always makes you feel a bit naff. And I know for me, like regular exercise helps massively mentally. It kind of clears the fog for me. And I've got quite a demanding job where I take on a lot of other people's stuff. So to not have been exercising and having that outlet has definitely impacted me mentally. Just feeling quite frustrated that I wasn't kind of getting up and doing something about that.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So that was the kind of like for a bit of you time and like an outlet for you to kind of, you know, let off some steam and do something for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And also just to get rid of that lethargic feeling, because it's just, you know, even when I'm socializing, just not being bothered as much. Whereas I know when I'm in a really good kind of health and well-being routine, I'm just motivated to kind of live.
Yeah. That's interesting, isn't it? It's like a whole like self-fulfilling thing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Works together. So obviously you've mentioned a couple of things again already. Like if I was to say to you, right, in an ideal world in 6 weeks time when we first started, like what sort of things did you want to try and achieve?
To lose a little bit of weight. So to kind of just get that started. And I think that was inevitably going to come a lot from the nutrition as well as the exercise stuff, because I feel like, yeah, I've just been eating a load of rubbish really recently. So that's helped dramatically.
Yeah. That's interesting thing, because I actually thought that you and Andy, when you came in, as in like in the Facebook group when you were posting your pictures, I thought your food was really good. So if that was a massive change, then well done.
Yeah, I think I'm probably jumping ahead on your questions a bit, but in terms of the nutrition stuff, that's been super meaningful to gain that understanding throughout this process. Because I think we thought we were eating pretty well, but actually we weren't. It you know, it wasn't balanced and it wasn't regular.
Yeah, Andy sort of alluded to that as well. Like he told me the same. Like he thought he was eating enough and he wasn't, and he thought he was eating it balanced and he wasn't. So yeah, okay. What would you say, Charlotte, in terms of the nutrition? What would you say the main things you've learnt are?
I think it's just what the food I'm eating is composed of in terms of the macronutrients. And I think that words like that you don't normally use in your day-to-day role could be quite daunting, but actually the way that you've been able to put it across has really simplified it. And using things like MyFitnessPal is such an easy tool to just get used to looking at your food in a slightly different way. And I think even just like looking at the plate that I'm eating, my portions, they've not changed dramatically, but the impact of what I'm putting in my body has changed dramatically. So, you know, I'm eating similar foods in different quantities and getting much more energy.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Yeah, really good. So training-wise, obviously you envisaged yourself coming to St. Joseph's School where we use our do our outdoor training, and you yourself doing that more. And you and I have discussed that how potentially you have benefited more because you've been able to do a little bit more at home because you haven't had to commute. And there were certain times that you could. So perhaps now, like, you've maybe ended up in a situation where you've actually learned that you can train at home and you can train effectively and consistently. But equally, when those classes come back again, you've almost got like the best of both worlds, because you know that when you come to class, that's obviously what you want to do, but you'd rather be there, but you can equally know now that you can do it.
Absolutely, yeah. I think I've done a few workouts here and there from home, but it's just not the same when you haven't got somebody there kind of instructing you, and you know that others have done it or are doing it with you as well. So that kind of interactive element has felt really positive. Yeah,
no, that's good. And you engaged in that as well, so that was really cool. Let's talk a little bit about the coaching, because I know like we often talk about between us like the training, the nutrition, and the coaching, the accountability. How have you found the coaching element of the program in terms of, like you just mentioned about like how I simplified the nutrition, the delivery of it. How would you describe it? Like what have you learned?
I think it's great because I think it's just really accessible, and that goes for approaching you about anything. Like I haven't felt like there's anything off limits that I could ask you, especially because I'm a veggie. I went in a bit apprehensively thinking that it might be geared towards kind of the carnivore types, but it's been great that you've got such a vast knowledge about that as well, that I've just been able to bash questions through, get really quick responses, and make those adjustments. And also I really like the online resources as well, because it's a tool that you can keep referring back to. And again, it's in layman's terms, but it's really usable.
Yeah, good. Oh, that's nice to hear, because it's like you say, I put that together so that people can do exactly what you've just said and refer back to it, use it. Obviously, we've developed the program over a number of years, and it's things like you're saying now that I've obviously realised over the time that we could have done that better. We should have had like some videos that explained about that at that point in time. So that's what the members area is all about, really. So obviously, I'm really pleased with how I think it works, but it's nice to hear that it actually works for people like self. So.
Yeah, and I just feel like it will be a more sustainable lifestyle change as well, because of how accessible it is. Because that that information's going in. If it was completely you using constant scientific language, I'd probably be sat here having lost no weight, feeling a bit useless. But actually, it's a great tool.
Yeah, good. So, like you mentioned a couple of things that you perhaps a bit fearful of at the start. Like, hopefully, we sort of allayed those fears. What would you like? Yeah, how would you say that we did that? What kind of like? Because obviously there will be people who perhaps are maybe watching this who are thinking they are fearful, but they are maybe just sat on the fence a little bit, thinking, it's not for me. It's this is supposed to be for someone else. Like, what would you say about the fears and the way that we kind of hopefully helped you through that?
I think it's all about kind of changing your perception. So for me, it was, am I going to feel motivated enough to do this? But actually having met you, or albeit in person a few times, but online quite a lot, and met some of the other guys and chatted to some of the other guys, that feeling of being connected to others kind of just overrides that unwillingness. So on those days where I maybe haven't felt motivated, I've thought, well, if everyone else can do it, I can do it. And also try to focus on the days where I have been motivated, how good I've felt at the end of those sessions. And it's like, you might feel a bit naff at the beginning if you're really tired or whatever it is, but I know 100% of the time that at the end of the session, I'm going to be really glad I did it. So that's doing something for me.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I think, and Christ, I don't know how many times I've trained where I've like not felt 100% when I've started, and at the end of it, I'm like, wow, I just feel so much better now. I'm like, I did it. So, yeah. I hope you don't mind me mentioning it, but I want to talk a little bit about, because I know that you and I had to work quite hard, didn't we, during a period of time during the program to sort of refine your nutrition a little bit. Because you were a little bit frustrated with like maybe the progress that you were seeing. So, and I don't mind talking about that. So hopefully it's okay with you. So not so much the sort of details, but like we've overcome that, haven't we? And what do you think was the kind of the tipping point there for you, like in just a little bit individual, because obviously there was a point where the progress was a little slower and you were like, Matt, how can I tweak this? So hopefully we did that.
Yeah, we definitely did. And I think it was just being able to have an honest conversation with you about it, and just, try and unpick it with somebody who knows because I've got very limited information myself. But I felt like, I felt confidence come to you, and you've worked with so many people that you're able to apply that to me. And it literally switched. We made one change to my nutrition and it was like on track, brilliant, which was really reassuring.
Yeah. And like, what's your favourite like results, shall we say? Because there's probably a few things you're happy with, but just tell me like kind of like a little, like maybe just give us an insight into some of the things that you've achieved that you're really happy with.
So I've lost over half a stone, which is great. So my clothes are feeling better. But actually, the more meaningful stuff for me is I talked to you a bit about getting back into my running, and I've been doing some short and some slightly longer runs in the last few weeks. And my kind of old injuries aren't playing up. I'm feeling really, really strong, particularly in the legs and core, as a result of doing your sessions. And I used to hate running, which sounds daft because I just said I really want to do it.
Yeah.
But it was more, I used to do it because it burnt calories and because I should do it. Whereas actually now I'm feeling like I want to do it. And it's unheard of, but a couple of days ago I did a 3-mile run, and it used to be like I'd hit 3 miles and I would stop on the dot and I'd be glad it was over. But I ran another half mile because I was just like, well, it just feels really good.
Yeah.
And I've never had that before. And that was really meaningful for me. Because I've always struggled with running and kind of building up the miles and stuff. So to willingly run further, that was a real positive. Yeah.
When would you unwillingly run further?
well, we'll see.
Yeah, no, that's great. Go on.
So I was just going to say, the other thing for me is in terms of mobility, I think I've done training before and there hasn't really been a strong emphasis on the kind of warm up and the cool down. And I think that's benefited me massively because I've got quite like tight knees, tight hips. I had sprained my ankle, hurt my calf, all sorts, from the waist down, just various injuries over the years. And I find like even like just bending down, I'm noticing that it's not hurting, and it's kind of like I got used to it hurting and didn't realise it was an issue until I did this, and now I just feel really kind of loose and flexible, and yeah, it's good.
It's really good. Yeah, it's good. Like I think we don't often talk about those sort of results enough. Everybody, like, luckily I get to work with different people who, they have such different goals, so we can talk, but I don't think there's enough emphasis on like the way you feel when you work, when you like when you go and do stuff. I don't think we talk about mobility enough. And then obviously you've just alluded to something else which I think is really important, which is stability of your joints. So you clearly feel stronger when you go running. Like you've lost half a stone, which is definitely like something, or just over you, I think you mentioned. That's definitely something that's useful for joint health, especially when you go then and turn it into something that's high impact. But you have also mentioned two things which are crucial to sort of like the longevity and the how well that feels.
And something we just don't think about, we just take for granted. And I think that I've had quite creaky knees for a long time, so you just kind of get used to it and don't really pay any attention. But actually the relief of doing something as simple as crouch down to pick something up and it not hurting is something that I just didn't think I would get out of this. That's like a brilliant byproduct.
Well, that's really good. It's nice to hear, because we do put like quite a strong emphasis on, a very strong emphasis on the program design. Like, so for us, like for me, that's like a form of art. Like I was rubbish at art. So for me, like I love looking at like the way the exercises are put together during a training program, like over a whole program, like, are we getting enough balance of, different, I'm not going to bore everybody with the movements and all that sort of stuff, but basically it's like there is a lot of thought that goes into it. So to hear that it's actually having an effect is really nice. So what would you say to somebody perhaps who's watching this and who's maybe just sort of sat on the fence, maybe thinking, not sure if it's for me, like, or, what would you say?
I would say just go for it, because as I say, it's so accessible from the, yourself and Harry to the people that are working in the group online. The workouts are so varied, and you give variations as well. So you can either push yourself a bit more, or if you are kind of earlier in your kind of health and fitness journey, then you can kind of bring it back a little bit. But in general, it's just going to make you feel physically and mentally good. I think that's the big emphasis for me is, people think fitness is just about sweating and then it's over, but actually it's really good for your brain as well. So I can't see any reason why somebody shouldn't do it, to be quite honest.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Awesome. If there's anything else you want to add, Charlotte, then you can, but otherwise I'm cool with that. So I'll let you get on with the rest of your evening.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.